Hi guys. Hope you all can hear me very clearly. My name is Muyiwa Wujide, and you're welcome to the Q&A session for Herbert Macaulay the movie. It's a lovely Friday afternoon here in Nigeria, where I am. It's about 1:10 p.m. GMT +1 Nigerian time. Wherever it is in your area, I guess. It's a good day, right? So hopefully you all just saw the movie and found it interesting, and that's why we're here to have a quick conversation with the director of the film, Umoren. So sorry if I mispronounced that. And we're basically going to be talking about the film about Macaulay, which is a story about somebody who's very, very particularly connected to the history of Nigeria and Lagos. And a lot of people don't know a lot about him. I mean, one of the things that Nigerians would remember about him is the legendary mustache on the dollar bill, sorry, on the Naira notes, on one of the Naira notes. So getting to see him in person in the film was actually quite exciting. So once again, my name is Muyiwa Wujide. I'm the creative director of Sodas and Popcorn, and we're the ones anchoring this conversation. And Sodas and Popcorn is a movie blog that documents African and Nigerian movie stories. So welcome to this session, and hopefully the director can join us in a few seconds. Hi.
I'm here. Hi, how's it going?
I'm very good. And you, how's it going on your end?
Yeah, we're pushing it, recovering from the pandemic that set us back a bit. So we're back in business now.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that, because I mean, we all know how much of a damage that the pandemic caused in the arts and entertainment industry. So for us to be having this session right now is really exciting, and for me to also hear that you're back in business and making the money is also is also really exciting to hear. So good to hear with you. Very good to hear with you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and we're also very excited to be talking about your film, Herbert Macaulay, which we just finished watching. And it's going to be an exciting conversation, hopefully, when we talk and dissect the film and take a look at certain elements that went into making of this film. I'm looking forward to this conversation very much. But before we go further, just very quickly, I would like to let people get to know you a bit before we get into the film. So if you could please, I know you've been active in the movie industry since about since the very early 2000s. But I would rather you do us the honor by talking about yourself just very briefly before we get into the film itself, if you don't mind.
Well, my name is Umoren. I'm an indie film director from Lagos, Nigeria. So I'm also a TV producer. I produce TV shows as well, shoot commercials. But I've made different films: Children of Mud, Have a Macaulay Affair, Coffin Salesman. I think I've made about 5 films in total.
Okay.
Herbert was one of my most special ones that I made for various reasons. So not much about me. I love watching football a lot. So most people that follow me on the social media know that I'm not making a film. I'm watching football or talking about football. So films and football are 2 things I love dearly. And
Awesome,
food.
awesome.
So the 3 Fs. Films, football, and food.
Semi-finals and the finals, in the finals rather.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now, why did you choose to tell the story of the man with the legendary mustache? About Macaulay.
So I'm also a big history buff.
Okay.
I'm also a very Pan-Africanist person, and well, that's how really my interest. And I found that for a lot of times we complain about our history being undocumented. And I looked inwards. I said to myself, what can I contribute to my history, to the story of my country, the story of my continent? I said there's stories that can be told, the different stories that can be told about our people. We don't always have to look to the West to tell us about ourselves. We can tell ourselves about ourselves. And so I said, I was going to make the Herbert Macaulay affair. And I had been working on the idea for over 4 years, but it wasn't the right time for me to make it. And so when it was the right time, I decided that I was just going to go and make it.
So, I mean, a lot of people didn't know about him. A lot of people felt, okay, he was a white man or something like that. And
Yeah.
very little people knew that this was actually Nigerian, a Lagosian.
Yeah.
And when you were creating this material, when you were creating the story and the film, what was the process like developing the character from something that already existed, knowing that you had a very heavy weight actually on your shoulder, depicting somebody who was alive in the 18th century, and having to get all the materials and resources right. How was the process of creating the film and the character?
It was heartbreaking. Let me not lie. It was heartbreaking. The materials were very lean, almost. We had to, me and the writer Bisola Jangbadi, we had to literally crisscross. Yes, because I co-wrote it with the Bisola, Bisiola rather. I'm sorry, apologies. We had to crisscross everywhere. We went to Ibadan. If I went to Ibadan, realized that part of the libraries had been burnt down. We went everywhere we could find materials. We even ordered books from the UK. We gleaned all the information we could get. But at the end of the day, we eventually had a lot of resources to make the film. And so we looked at it. His life was very colorful and very long. And we realized we couldn't possibly document all in the film. And we said, you know what, let's just take a section of his life from the beginning where he started his nationalism and everything, and let's just take that part and narrate that part, because we're going to document his entire life. It would have been way too long. It was colorful and there was so many intricacies. Even at that, lots of people were still not satisfied. Everyone was like, "Oh, there was small things you could have added." I'm like, we're just a section of his life that we decided to treat in our film. So hopefully somebody else makes another film and treats another part of his life. It's like when you see films about Churchill, there are over 8 films about Churchill, each dealing with different parts of it, different things. So I'm hoping that in future, a filmmaker also wakes up and says, you know what, I'm just going to tell a story about Herbert. I was very happy to make the film. I remember the first time we dropped the trailer, like you rightly said, lots of people didn't even know he was black. And like that's the host of the comments I had, people thought he was Caucasian. And this is the guy that's on our currency. And for me, I told my team and everybody, I said, if I haven't succeeded in doing anything in my life, it's just that I educated some people to show that Herbert Macaulay was actually a black person and not Caucasian. So for me, I feel like with that we achieved what we set out to achieve, which was educating people about ourselves.
And I think that's a very important thing, because one of the problems, you know what they say about books and black men and things like, which I don't agree to, because I love reading. But I think that's one of the most important things about the film, actually showing us elements of history that a lot of us never knew about. I myself even know a lot of things that I was privileged to actually see in the film. So, and films like this, films that actually go back in history and document our stories, are things that we need to see a lot more of. So, I mean, a huge kudos to you on that. Now, talking about the way this film was made, it's not shot the typical style. It's more or less like a diary. It's sort of like reading the diaries of Herbert Macaulay. So it's sort of like flipping on pages or chapters, and it's not the typical drama that you have in Nollywood. Why did you decide this was the kind of style you were going to go with, and what were some of the references that you might say played a major role in creating this film?
I mean, first of all, I remember one time I tweeted that Nollywood is both a genre and an industry, and I got it was very contentious, and people, was very contentious. While like you mentioned, there are typical elements that make a Nollywood film, but even within the Nollywood industry, there are lots of filmmakers that make films that are not typically what you'd call a Nollywood film. And it's not just me. There are lots of them. I've seen a few of them in the festival as well, and like I know, like okay, this is unconventional filmmaking. I think that the freedom that film allows you to tell is you can do so much with it. You can. But the key thing is for me is to learn the rules and break them. And so, I mean, like every story must have a beginning, middle, and end. Those are just the loose structures, but they don't have to. We've seen several films that don't have that are told backwards, that don't have beginnings and ends, that don't have resolutions, and all that. But we seem to be stuck with this three-act structure when
journey.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but I don't think that we have to be stuck in things like that. We just have to tell the stories the way we see it as visionaries. And then I would say there was one film that inspired the style, because I'm a student of film, and I've watched so many, and I don't think that it was one film. I'm sure it's the multi layers of film and things that I've learned all throughout the years. And I realized, oh, you can do that. Or you can do that in a film, or you can do that in a film. And then once you realize the things that you can do in a film, you realize that there's freedom with the storytelling, because the three-act structure is good when you're starting out, but eventually, as you grow up and you earn your expertise, or you accumulate your intelligence experience, yeah, you can break those rules. And it was the only way that we could have documented that film properly, was to break the barriers. Because if we had stuck to a three-act structure, I'm not sure that we would be able to put everything together like that.
Okay, so now in terms of the set design, the production design, and all those things, this wouldn't have been very easy. Getting the right buildings, getting the right places, avoiding technology in your shots, possibly using technology in your shots and things like that. How did you manage to go about all this process?
It was so difficult. There are some scenes that we had to gyroscope some things out of the scenes, because all the structures were surrounded by a lot of modern structure, even the sound, a lot of modern sounds, a lot of things, So we had to block off entire buildings, and it was very difficult. It was very difficult because we also don't have a lot of respect for antiques. So our antiques are surrounded by too many modern things. They're not preserved in a sacred space where you can go and say this space belongs to this structure. But I shot the bulk of it in Ibadan, which luckily for me still has a lot of the colonial, still in place, and so getting permission and all that, and trying to building it for us was, we studied a lot. We studied The Crown, the series The Crown, a lot. So we studied a lot of things that they did. Obviously, we didn't have that much money as The Crown, but we studied. But that was our textbook. Me, my production designer, my DOP, lighting guys. We just used to just sit in my house and watch The Crown, and everybody just takes note, like, oh man, look at what they did here. So we just kind of studied The Crown. The Crown is excellent if you want to make like period pieces. They're so good with their detailing.
Yes.
So we started.
There's a question here, which says, were you inspired by other Nigerian historical pieces, such as Half of the Yellow Sun, or October 1 or 76, or not at all?
I'll say yes and no. I was inspired that those guys were brave enough to tell that story, but I didn't base a lot of my research on them. But I was inspired by what they did with their story, and I wanted to have a film that was as good as that. And so those guys really inspired me, especially 76. I love 76. I love what they did there. Half of Yellowstone also was fantastic. October 1st. Oh, bruh, like those films are brilliant films. So I watch them a lot. So I'm inspired by people around me, but I also I'm inspired by the story of my country as well, which in itself is so colorful that you don't even need to do much to it. There's so much that happened in the past.
There's so much untapped history. There's so much materials, and I'm really excited about the future of filmmaking, because it looks like now is the time for people to actually do daring stuff. I think it's now
Yeah.
it's the time for films like this and stories like this to actually find an audience. Maybe 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case. But right now, with people of different tastes in films and platforms, different distribution platforms and expression platforms is popping up, I believe that we need to tap into our history. And for that reason, I mean, I'm hoping this is not the last period piece or historical piece that we'll be seeing from you.
No, no, I have another one in the works, but it's a mini series.
Oh, great, great, great. So we'll definitely be looking forward to that. Now, in terms of
Yeah.
casting, the choice of casting, I think I probably recognize two people in the entire film. Probably. That's Kelechi and Said.
Yeah.
um, so how did you go about your casting choices, and why did you decide not to have too many mainstream faces? I'm not talking about A-list or anything like that, which you could have
Yeah.
if you wanted to, definitely. But
Yeah.
why did you decide to go so indie?
William Best is also big on the TV circuit. He's had one primetime show, so he's been very big. But he's also been around as well. But I was going more to likeness
Okay,
than just having a movie star. And I had the choice to hire either a big movie star or somebody that was close in likeness to Herbert Macauley. And so when I looked at it, I said, you know what, I'll just do what I have to do, which is casting somebody that looked close in likeness. Most of the characters look close in physical likeness to the actual characters that existed at the time.
okay.
And so for me, I wanted this to be, because I don't want this film to be just a film. I want the film to be 50 years from now, people are researching something, they can actually base their research on that film. They can see close to likeness. So when I was searching for the lead character, when I found William Benson, I put the mustache on him and I sent the pictures to the family of Herbert Macaulay, and everyone said that's him.
So you worked closely with the family of Herbert Macaulay on the project.
Yes, yes, yeah. He's one of his descendants. His grandson was one of the associate producer on the film, and he
Oh,
helped he
nice.
helped a lot. So I put the mustache on William Benson, took a picture, sent it to him, and he just texted me back. That's my grandfather. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's
Awesome.
go shoot this film. Yeah, so yeah, so I wanted it to be close in likeness to the actual people.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. So I wouldn't know if there are other questions that people would want to ask in the audience, because we're rounding up the conversations now. It's been an exciting conversation, and I'm definitely looking forward to more works from Imo. So please, let's send in the questions. Okay, so could we have an idea of the budget of this film? Historical pieces are usually more expensive than regular stories. So somebody wants to know how much cheddar went into creating
I, I
this.
spent I spent 30 million on it, 30 million naira.
Whoa,
Um,
whoa,
but
whoa.
but that is, I tell you why I was able to spend that low, is that because I'm actually a career director and producer. I know there's certain things I get bargain prices for. There's certain things, I own a lot of equipment,
Okay,
so there's certain things in the overhead that didn't cost me that much. But if I want to value, obviously all that went into it, it would be
then
way more. Yeah, because if I was going to wait for 100 million, I'll probably not make it.
I
I'll
understand
probably
that.
not make the film. Yeah, so I spent 30 million on it, making the film.
Yeah, somebody else wants to know if you could share more details about the upcoming miniseries. I'm definitely very interested in knowing more about that. If there's any information, if there's anything whatsoever that we could walk away with.
So the mini series is based on uh it's partly fiction and partly real. It's based on a bunch of young people that start an oil trading company that is rivaling the trading company that was in existence, that was owned by the colonialists. And this is towards when they start opening up the business for natives to come in. And so a bunch of friends, start an oil trading business, and then they have to go against these guys and all that. And then one of the central characters is one of the earliest, richest people in Lagos at the time. We used to sell water. We used to sell water down in the Brazilian quarters of Lagos, and there's lots of intrigue. But a lot of that is actual historical facts. But obviously, there's all some fictional characters that we're bringing in as well. So we've been writing that, and we're hoping it's going to be an 8-part series, 1 hour. So we're hoping to film this year, but COVID came in and then kind of messed that schedule up. So we're pushing it back towards November. So hopefully from November we'll start making that.
Okay. Okay, so we have one last question. Was Herbert Macaulay released in cinemas, and what was the reception like from audiences?
He didn't make that much money, huh? He didn't make that much money. But it was in the cinemas, he didn't make that much money. But it was mixed. Yeah, it was. I think the reaction was mixed. Some people loved it, some people hated it. But most people loved it. Most people were surprised by it. But it didn't make as much money as we would have wanted it to make. But the lifespan, but that's the beauty of it. The lifespan of the film has not ended. It's still being licensed continually. We recently licensed it to 2 VODs and 2 airlines by my distributors. And it's currently about to be licensed by Telcom, a company who called me yesterday, and they want to license it for their platform. So the licensing are ongoing. It's about to get on Netflix as well. Amazon Prime wanted to cut a deal for it, aside from the regular just putting it on Amazon Prime. So my distributors, Trace Distribution, are doing a lot to try and license the film. I feel like before the lifespan of the film is over, we'll probably make a lot of money. But it didn't make a lot of money in the cinema, so
which is quite. I mean, this connects back to what I said earlier on about the fact that I'm so happy that these alternatives are opening up right now, so filmmakers can decide to actually make what kind of film they want to make. And I mean, most recently, Emofe, which was in cinemas for about 2 weeks. It's the similar experience that Emofe had. I watched the movie. I loved it. I completely loved that movie. But there were just 3 of us in the hall. 3.
It happens. Most of the classic films didn't really make. What's this film about the prison? I keep forgetting this film. What's the name of it? Yeah, Shawshank Redemption did not make that much money. But it's been variously cited as one of the best films ever made. And there are lots of other films like that. So for me, in fact, I was talking to a filmmaker 2 days ago who also had a similar experience, and it was a bit feeling low a bit. And I told him, I said, a lot of classic films didn't make that much money. But the key thing is the lifespan of your film. It's like, if your film has a lifespan of 10, 20, 15, 30 years, I mean, Shawshank Redemption is still being licensed till today. And it was made in 1992 or something, So, the key thing is, for me, is like make a classic film that can outlast, and you earn money, for as long as you.
It was really made in 1994. I just confirmed that bit of information.
So, so a classic film would always make money as time goes on.
Okay. All right. So I think that brings us to the end of the conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
I think 27 minutes have gone by without me even knowing about it. So
It feels so short.
Yeah, it's very short. So it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. And for people who are watching this, please stick around. There is more fun to be had in the festival. So see you guys on the other side. Bye.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.